So like,
Okay, so we're looking at this document called Independent Contractor versus Employee Case Studies. And we're gonna take a look at the facts of the case and make a determination of what we think each of these folks are. So the introduction says the law offices of Smith, Smith & Smith are in need of a cleaning service. They advertise in the newspaper and are contacted by the Dynamo Duo. And if you're listening to this online, the document is posted down by the Montana section of in Moodle. So basically the way you set something like this up is we're going to kind of write what we think are the compelling facts that would lead you to believe they're an independent versus an employee. So we're just going to kind of go around. So I'll do the first couple and then we'll just go around. So the first one says the Dynamo Duo consists of 2 individuals. Okay, I don't think that's applicable. I don't think that leads me towards one way or the other. Second one says they accept the job for $12 an hour and they report their hours individually at the end of each month on a Dynamo Duo invoice. So the first thing I see there is the $12 an hour, and that kind of leads me to think they might be an employee because employees are paid by the hour, independents are usually paid by the job. But then it says that they submit an invoice. So that kind of contradicts that to me. That says that they're possibly an independent. Okay, Hannah, why don't you read number 3 and tell me what you see in that.
A contract is signed stating the wage rate that the offices must be.
Oh, sorry.
That the offices must be cleaned each weeknight, that 2 weeks' notice must be given to quit, and that the individuals are independent contractors.
Okay, so what did you think on that one?
Well, they just signed a contract that says they're independent contractors, but independent contractors usually don't have to give 2 weeks' notice in their contract period.
Okay, so there's some conflicting things here too. One of the things is obviously that they signed something saying they're independent, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want me to write up here?
Contract?
Yeah, just signed contract, right? But the other thing that's conflicting is what?
The notice?
Yeah, 2 weeks' notice, right? If you sign as an independent contractor an agreement to do something and you stop in the middle of it, what's the person that you signed the agreement going to do?
Not pay you.
Yeah, either not pay you or sue you for breach of contract. I mean, you come and start building my house and you're like, I don't want to finish your house. I'm like, I'm going to sue you for breach of contract, right? My house is sitting there exposed to the elements. So you don't give 2 weeks notice. You finish the job and then say I'm not going to bid anymore for you if you're an independent, right? Okay, Haley, number 4.
Smith & Smith will furnish the cleaning supplies. The Dynamo Duo will furnish the vacuum and other specialized equipment.
Okay, so what's going on in that one?
It's an employee because employees don't really have to provide any of their supplies or worry about maintenance or anything on them.
Okay. So the supplies are provided. And there's something else in that one. Kelly, did you see something else?
Well, no, sorry, I was reading the next.
That's okay. Did you see anything else? Yeah, tricked you. Did you see anything else in this one? So Haley said, yeah, they get the folks.
Oh, that the company provides part of it and then they provide part of
Yeah, and what do they do? Which part do they provide?
it. Vacuum and other.
Okay, so what do you think takes more of an investment, the vacuum or the supplies?
The equipment.
I mean, obviously, like commercial vacuums are super expensive, right? So that's really what we call an investment in equipment. You know, it's not like I've got this little, bag of rags or something. I mean, this is an investment.
It's generally a one-time investment.
Yep. Okay, Amber, number 5.
The windows need washing, so Mr. Smith asked the individuals to put a couple extra hours in on Wednesday and wash them. The carpets need shampooing, and that will need to be done next month.
So what do you see in that?
Well, they're asking them to do extra work, but so is that not in the contract? I mean, but if
It's
they're
in
getting-
addition to what's in the contract.
I would say, I think it's still going towards independent contractor because,
I don't know, so if somebody brings me their taxes and then they're like, oh, by the way, you need to do my property tax return as well. I'm like, no, I bid you $400 to do your tax return.
well, you'd have to do another bid then.
Right, but
Yeah.
is that what this says?
No. So, yeah, no.
So what do we want to call that, you guys? What do you think number 5 shows?
Shows their employee, right?
Okay, so what do you want to put up here? What do you think that is?
Well,
Do you, like,
additional hours, when they're asking them to work extra.
Yeah, I mean, so we looked at those 3 categories of evidence. Which one is this?
like behavioral?
Yeah, it's telling them what to do and when to do it, right? Right, isn't that what we identify as behavioral control? Folks?
Oh, number 6,
Yes, please.
if one of the dynamite duo is ill, then their friend takes over the job and reports the number of hours worked to the firm. The firm pays her at the same hourly rate as the dynamite duo.
So what the heck is going on there? So I call in to work, right? Sick. So here's Smith, Smith, and Smith, right, who I work for. I work for them. I get my friend to come in instead, and then who pays my friend?
Oh, the firm,
They pay him.
not more like an independent contractor.
So what's that situation? Is that subcontracting? Have I subcontracted out to my friend? Yeah, but if I subcontract, who pays them? I do.
Right, right. So you
This
gotta-
is like, I can't come to work next week, so I asked my next door neighbor, hey, can you go teach? And he shows up and the university pays him. Right? Have you ever heard of anything like that? It's totally, I mean, it's just, that's a nonsensical thing to me. I mean, in what situation does that happen? I mean, in a true independent situation, like I've had student interns before work in my tax practice, and then I'll give, I pay them and I give them to my students and they do the tax return. Does my client ever know that? No, heck no. I pay the student, I review his or her work, and then I give it back to the client pays me and I pay my intern, right? That's a subcontractor. So this is almost like, do you think it belongs either place, or, I mean, I don't know really what to do with it. I'm just
One
going,
cancels the other out.
it kind of cancels, yeah, it kind of cancels. Okay, you're up again, Hannah.
The Dynamo duo cleans the house for an elderly lady on a monthly basis. That seems like an independent contractor because they have multiple jobs.
Very good. Okay, Haley?
No one supervises the Dynamo duo as the attorneys have gone home by the time the individuals arrive to clean. I mean, I would say it's an employee. I mean, if you think if they're like maintenance, they don't need supervision when everybody's gone home.
Okay. So, but what they're asking you to do is to look at the point and say, what is this more indicative of? So do you think more independents aren't supervised or more employees aren't supervised? Or it can be just another one of those points that you don't think belongs
Well,
anywhere.
it's hard because if you think of them as maintenance people, I mean, you
Yeah.
don't see a janitor with a supervisor with them. If
Right.
that's what his, but I don't. But in general, I think independent contractors don't usually have a supervisor.
In general, it's indicative of independent contractors, or, although obviously not every type of employee. I mean, I don't really have supervision, so to speak here. But you're also right. In what situation are attorneys going to be supervising maintenance people in the middle of the night? Right? And that doesn't even make sense. Okay, Cal?
Well, that was, I guess, indicative of the independent contractor.
Can you read it?
Oh, sure.
That's okay.
The Dynamo Duo are each given 1099s at the end
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah, so clearly. Okay, so take a second. Look at the list, and then I'm going to ask you to weigh in on what you think you would classify these folks as.
The next 8.
I'm sorry.
The next 8?
No, these.
Oh.
I'm going to ask you to weigh in on this. Don't look at your neighbor, just make your own mind up. But how many people think that they are an employee? How many people think they're independent? Okay, so this person's actually an employee. These people are actually employees, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, first off, this always happens. Usually there's one person like that'll say, I think they're independent.
If they get
Or
1099s,
employee.
I don't understand how it can be employee.
If you misclassify somebody, you're going to send the document to them that you think goes with the misclassification, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in your head, you're like, oh, they're independents, you're going to 1099 them, of course. That's what you do if you think they're independent. So let's just go through these. So first off, what about the invoice? What about the invoice? Do you have a big investment into getting invoices? I mean, that's kind of contradictory, isn't it? That makes you, like, the perceived relationship is independent. But really, you just get an invoice off a Word. It's like a template, right? How about the signed contract? Surely that has to matter. What if you sign a contract that isn't for something valid?
Yeah, it's wrong.
Right. Like if you and I signed a contract for, dealing drugs, and you didn't come through, with what you were supposed to come through with, could I sue you? No, because the contract was never valid, because it was for an illicit purpose, right? So making you sign a contract, sign a contract that you're a small Korean man, does not make you a small Korean man. It just makes your name on a piece of paper of something you're not. So really, that's not valid at all. That was just an exercise in futility. How about the investment in equipment? That's pretty compelling. But let's see if we can think of other examples of people that are employees that have significant investments in equipment. You do. What do you have?
All my jeweler's equipment that I have, thousands.
Thousands of dollars into your
And I have it all. at
tools.
work.
And you keep it all at work. Did you need that to get your job?
I needed it to get hired, yeah.
Okay. So
But-
you had to make an
but they
investment in
had-
equipment.
They had some stuff there, but not.
Okay, great example. I think you're probably the first person I've ever met that's an active jeweler. It's kind of cool. What else? Who else can you think of?
I don't know, like, I've worked a little bit of construction, a lot of those guys have their own hammers.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you work any sort of construction, mechanics, driver, yeah. I mean, the biggest example, so the tools are a good one. Obviously, anybody's got to bring tools to their job, whatever it looks like. Or, I mean, yeah, you drive for Jimmy John's, what do you got to own? A car. Talk about a significant investment, right? So that is pretty compelling for an independent contractor, but we can we just thought of 3 or 4 examples of employees that need to have a significant investment in equipment. What about other clients?
You can be an employee and work other jobs too.
you can, this one's pretty compelling as well, and that's one of those things, so, but do they have like a significant other client base?
Like once a month.
Yeah, one lady once a month, right? So that's kind of like, we've already been through the supervision thing. In what world are, $200 an hour attorneys going to be supervising their maintenance staff at 3 in the morning? And this one I understand where you guys were confused, but again, that's what you should do if you thought you were classifying them as independents, if that was correct. What's really compelling in this case is what?
The hourly wage.
Yeah, that's, although, a lot of independents get paid by the hour too. Say that you're going to do some consulting, right? I'm going to come and do some human resource consulting or some interior design consulting. What's the first thing you're going to ask me if I'm coming into your home to look at your palette and your flooring and how much you charge an hour, right? Aren't you going to ask me how much you charge an hour? I'm going to say $80. So the minute I hit your door, you want to have your questions, you want to get my input, you want to tell me what next steps are, and you want me out the door, right? So many independents do bill by the hour. This is the biggie right here. If you're an employee, if you're an independent, I can't tell you need to wash the windows next week too, on top of everything else. What would be the way I would handle that? Yeah, you need to bid on this, right? You need to submit a separate bid. It might be I might charge a different rate for window washing because I've got to buy liability insurance for it, and it's higher risk, and da-da-da-da-da than, vacuuming the floor, right? Go ahead.
Can independents work just like on a commission basis?
Can independents work on a commission basis? That's a really good question. Like, what are you thinking of?
So like if you go into, well, I guess I'm thinking more specifically the beauty industry, because like my stylist was talking about this the other day, that you either work booth rent or commission. So they can say you work Fridays from 12 to 5, and you just make commission off of what you do that day.
So you're saying like I cut $800 worth of hair,
Right.
and I get 40% of that.
Right. They make a commission, so they're not technically an employee.
I don't know this for a fact at all, but I would guess that there's been, because that's a pretty big industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it works kind of universally. I think it works the same way with like nails and everything too,
Right.
doesn't it? I would guess that is a statutory exception. In other words, that group of people has lobbied Congress for their own set of rules. And probably not the people, probably the owners of the shops. It sounds to me like one of those things. I don't know that for a
I was
fact.
just confused by that after we learned about all of this.
Because no, that doesn't really at all tie, because really what you're talking about there is, I am integral to what this company does. Without the stylist, there is no, beauty salon, or whatever we call them these days. So I'm integral to the value of the company, and the more I work, the more they make. That's not really how independents work, is it?
Yeah, it sounds kind of like employees.
It does, and that's why I'm betting. There's some industries that have these weird exceptions. Like another exception is if you drive like a Schwann's truck. If you're a food or beverage delivery person that you sell things out of a truck, but it's really their product, that's got like this weird set of exceptions. Life insurance salespeople have this weird set of exceptions. So those are usually the result of a group of people going and lobbying for that. I don't know that. I've never seen the beauty supply industry, but I've been puzzled by it in the past. Okay. This is what you're going to have to do on the test. This is about an 8 or 9 point test on your final, or question on your final. I'll give you a set of facts and say that this was 8 points. Like 6 of the points would be in doing all of the detail, and maybe 2 points would be in making the proper assessment. Okay. Alrighty, let's go through the next one. And let's see, who did I leave off with? Okay, Kelly, you wanna take the first, why don't you take the first two?
Okay. So, all right, I'll read that first
Yes,
part.
please.
The Dynamo duo are gone and the offices still need to be cleaned. Smith, and Smith again advertise for a cleaning person. Mr. Smith, while reading the paper, notices the section displaying individuals' business cards. He calls Mr. Quinn.
So which one, what do you think that call, is compelling for?
An independent contractor.
Because,
Let's call him out of the newspaper.
yeah. Okay, why don't you take the next one too, we'll all
Okay.
each take two.
All right, Mr. Clean has listed on his application for work that he cleans for 2 other business establishments during the day, so he must clean the offices at night. He listed several other individuals that he has cleaned for as references. Well, I would say independent contractors as well, because he's got lots of other places that he can set his own hours and when he can be there.
That's significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, here's when I'm available, right? Okay. Miss Richter, number 3.
Mr. Clean reviews the job, and since he wants to be assured of a job for, well, let's start over. Mr. Clean reviews the job, and since he wants to be assured of a job for at least a year, writes a contract for a year at $12 per hour, stating the cleaning he will do each night. He states that he is an independent contractor. I would say signing the contract.
So signing the contract, but there's one other thing in there that's kind of important.
The wage, and stating what he'll do.
Yeah, he says, here's what I'll do. And he says, I want to be guaranteed of work for a year. Okay. So, sets own, I don't know, what do we say? Processes or sets own tasks. Okay, Bo, what's the next one?
The company will furnish the supplies that Mr. Clean will bring in industry strength equipment to use on the job. So, I mean, he's bringing his own, but they also are supplying him the supplies too.
Right, so does that really, because we just saw last time in that investment in equipment, do you want to put it up there? Or what do you think?
I mean, with them supplying, I mean, that's kind of, but same with the last time, so I don't even think.
It is kind of same with the last time where we sort of, like, so I mean, I think, this is important. But the investment in equipment, I don't know, we saw that could go either way. Okay, Hannah?
The firm mentions that they'll need the carpet shampoo, and Mr. Clean states that he cannot do that under his present hourly wage, as that was for routine, easy work as detailed in the contract. He will submit a bid price for the shampooing. So, submitting a bid sounds like.
Good.
Haley? At the end of the year, a 1099 is issued to Mr. Clean, signing for the contractor.
Yeah. Is that the end of it?
2 more.
Okay, Cal?
When Mr. Clean was at a cleaning supplies convention, his brother cleaned the offices for him. Mr. Clean paid him what he thought he was worth.
Here's funny.
So I guess that would be his subcontract, right? So Mr.
Yeah.
Clean's paying him.
Right, so this is exactly what we were talking about, isn't it? He comes in and works for them, but really Mr. Clean is subbing his bro. Amber, what's the last one?
And one supervises Mr. Clean as the attorneys are gone when he cleans.
Yeah, we decided that doesn't really matter. How many people think this is an independent contractor? Okay. This one was way more clear cut than the
Yeah.
first one. Okay, so I'll give you one that's probably closer to the first one, where it's gray. And the reality is that's how things usually flush out. A lot of people aren't clear on what it even means to be classified one way or another. I hear all the time, every semester that I teach this, I'll have somebody have either themselves or a sister or lover or brother or parent or somebody that has had the situation of clearly, look like an employee, but are being treated as an independent. And a lot of times people just don't know their rights. And honestly, I don't think that, every hiring agent's, an evil corporate entity trying to screw the little man. I think a lot of times people just, they really don't know. And it's like, well, my buddy hires independent contractors, doesn't have to pay taxes, right? But we know now, how would you explain to somebody in your life how you make that decision? What would you tell them? Yeah. That's basically it. You would just go through that behavioral control, financial control, and perceived relationship, and you would go back to that old law with the 20 points. Okay? What do you do if you think you're being misclassified? You go to your employer or your hiring agent and say, dude, really, here, show them the documents. Clearly you've got behavioral control, financial control over me. Well, you need to reclassify me as an employee. And they say, what do? You do. You can go right to the Department of Labor and Industry and file a wage claim. Okay. For a lot of us, you don't want to get into all that agitation and controversy, and most of us can't go hire a retainer and throw down $5,000, or hire an attorney and throw down a retainer. But also, I think it's really important to advocate for your own rights. Okay. So that is one of the things you'll see on the final. The other thing that I want to do today is go through the end of section 3, kind of picking up where we left off last time on section 3. We spent most of last time talking about the Department of Revenue. What page do we think we're on about, maybe 30? Is it thinking? Oh, there we go. Oh, crazy. Went right to it. Okay. So just to recap, I think last time we started into this section. This is the Department of Labor and Industry, and which tax do they administer again? SUTA. Yep. So we kind of went through the forms. I'm just going to kind of try and tie it into last time, and then we'll move forward. Where we registered, and then we learned how to do the UI-5, which is the quarterly form that we fill out to pay our SUTA. And that was one of the things you did in assignment 2, right? So let's just pop through those, and I think that's where we left off last time. Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay, so let's pick up back here at this application for transfer of experience rating record. The heck is this? This is, well, for one thing, this goes with extra credit assignment number 3. This is your... it goes with one of the letters. What it's talking about here is if you sell your business to somebody, you can also sell your SUTA rate to them. Why would you want to do that? Yeah, say that you've worked really hard, you have had great human resource policies, very little attrition out of your workforce, they really like you. Okay, great. Then what? You get a really low SUTA rate. Now you're selling your business and somebody says, you know what, I'll pay you $10,000 for that low SUTA rate, because it saves them money right off the top. You have to apply with the department, just what it says up here, application for transfer of experience ratings record. In other words, you have to ask the Department of Labor and Industry if it's okay if you transfer it. In order to do that, basically, you need to just fill out this form. And then you also have to show that you're current with all of your SUTA payments and that you, what's the other thing? You're current with all your payments. Oh, and then you have to also agree, once you sell it, you have to sign an affidavit that says, I know that if I start another new business, I don't get the benefit of all my hard work on my old SUTA rate. I've got to start from ground zero as a new employer because you just sold this one to somebody else. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's just take a look. This is came from the Department of Labor and Industry. So first off, just over on the left, want to make sure that everybody knows that SUTA is used interchangeably with the acronym UI, right? Unemployment insurance and SUTA are the same thing. And you know up here in this top box, we've already looked at that one of the things that determines SUTA rates is what kind of balance is there in the fund going into the year. So if it's been a good year in Montana, which the last 3 or 4 years, they basically tell us we're at full employment right now. Everybody that wants to be working is. And I know it, I know, and that raises eyebrows, but I mean, our unemployment rate's at like what, 4.1%? And I will tell you personally, I hear over and over, I got 2 calls alone yesterday for people wanting accounting technicians. And I mean, they're starting them in the door at 14 and 15 bucks an hour in full benefits. And I'm like, everybody that's graduating is already placed. I don't have anybody to give you. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. And I hear that from a lot of other program directors too, that it's just, anyways. So the higher the fund balance, then everybody gets a lower rate schedule, right? But in times where things are tough and there's not that much tax coming in and there's a lot of claims going out, that bottom one, there's a low fund balance and higher rates. So this, we looked at one of these last class period as well, but just for giggles, this is saying, okay, say that we choose Schedule 2, right? There's 10 schedules. Then within Schedule 2, which is what everybody's paying for that year, they rate you one of 10 different rate classes. So we might all own shoe stores, right? One in Dillon and one in Miles City, one in Bozeman, one in Missoula, blah, blah, blah. And we might all have different rate classes because my store, I really compensate my people well. I keep them happy. There's no turnover. Whereas your store is kind of mismanaged and people come and go and there's no training and they're not really paid very well. You might be a rate class 10, right? So it doesn't mean similar kinds of stores or industries. It means what's your history, right? And you're one of 2 things. You're either eligible or you're deficit. Does anybody remember what those mean? So look at like rate class 6. Obviously, which one do you want to be, eligible or deficit? Hello. Yeah, you want to be an eligible employer. Your SUTA rate's way lower, right? So eligible employer is used synonymously with surplus employer, and it means that in your individual account, you've paid in more than you've paid out. If you're deficit, you paid in less than you've paid out. Okay, so and again, just to recap, determining the rates, trust fund balance, and then are you a deficit or a surplus employer? Okay. Who's required to pay unemployment? Really, number 1 is the most important. If you've got payroll over $1,000 this year or last year, you got to pay SUTA. Or number 4, that's also important, if you have domestic workers. So again, back to like, nannies or housekeepers or, chefs. Okay, transfer of experience, we've gone over. We just looked at the document. Entity changes, you actually have to tell the Department of Labor and Industry if you're changing. So I was a sole proprietorship, but I just brought on 3 partners. So now we're going to become a partnership. You have to inform them of that, get a new FEIN, and do all that. Okay, this next one's pretty important. We need to take a look at this chart. Again, a lot of students or students' friends will have had experience with this. So this is, I go to work for a company for 6 months, I go out to Pause Up, and I work for 6 months, and then they lay me off. Can I claim unemployment against them? You can't, and here's why. You have to work during what's called your base period. So like right now, what month are we in? We're in April, right? So if right now you got laid off from your job, this is when your claim would be filed, right? Is here. So when they look at your base period, it's not any of the months in this quarter. It's not any of the months in the prior quarter. It's the whole year before that. So if I just got laid off from Pause Up right now, I would get unemployment if I had wages posted sometime between January of 15 and December of 15. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter a whit that I worked for him in April, or even March, February, or January. They'd have to go back to the base period. So let's do another example. Let's say that you're coming back. What's a good example? Let's say you're coming back to a job that you work each school year next September. And, no, I'm sorry, let me start over. Let's say next September, just as you're starting school, your employer says, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to lay you off. What was your base period? So if you get laid off in September of 2016, what was your base period? Go ahead.
Is it April through March of 15?
April of 2015 through March of 2016. So in other words, wherever you are, wherever your layoff is, you don't get that quarter, you don't get the prior quarter, and then it's the 12 months ending in that last block. Does that make sense? So as an employer, how are you notified of the charge? In other words, so somebody is going to get unemployment on your account, right? They're going to send you something called a potential charge notice. And basically, if the person was indeed laid off, you don't do anything. Your account should be charged, and it's going to be charged, and the person is going to get unemployment, and that's that, right? But say that the person filed an unemployment claim against you, but you didn't lay them off for lack of work. You laid them off because they were incompetent or late or stealing from you, or any number of reasons that they shouldn't be claimed on your account. What you have to do then is you've got 10 days to return the notice. And then basically an appeals process starts, right? The Department of Labor and Industry will look at what you said happened, look at what the unemployed worker says happened, and then make a determination, right? And usually until you get to the very end processes, very few people lawyer up. It's usually done through arbitration, okay? But you really want to keep an eye on this, because if you lay somebody off for cause, and then say you go out of the country and you don't get your mail for 3 weeks, and this comes, bummer. You've lost the chance to appeal it, and they're just going to go against your account, and that's going to impact your SUTA rate, and so you really need to keep a tight eye on that. Once a quarter, they'll send you a statement of benefits paid, so you know exactly who's claimed on your account. But really, that's just a recount of what's already happened. You can't appeal anything at that point. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so that was quarterly, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
When will your account be charged? Okay, most people would say that it's only if you lay somebody off for lack of work, but there's actually 3 reasons why your account can be charged. So I'm just going to read this to you. It says, when will your account be charged? When you paid wages in the claimant's base period, which we just looked at, and the reason the person left your employment is determined to be one of the following 3 things. Number 1, lack of work. Okay, sorry, we just don't have as many customers anymore. We're cutting, the night shift. Number 2, they quit right? Most people are like, really? You can get unemployment if you quit? Very narrow window. Only if it's for good cause attributable to or the fault of the employment. What are we talking about? I quit, then it was attributable to or the fault of the employment itself.
Right?
Like
What
what?
if it was unsafe environment?
Great example. I just got pregnant and I work around toxic materials and I can't ingest this anymore, right? I'm being sexually harassed at work. It's, what's that other catchphrase when work is a hostile environment? Yes, those kinds of things. I don't want that on tape. But I'll tell you one thing, if you're gonna, and I honestly, the only time in my life I've ever claimed unemployment was under number 2. And I'll tell you the story really super quick just because it's interesting. I was hired out of graduate school at a startup pharmaceutical company as their CFO, and my primary task, in addition to doing the financial statements and the budgeting and all the things everybody does in that position, was to raise $3 million of venture capital. So I spent a year of my life with tiny little kids at home, flying around the country with a business plan, trying to drum up $3 million of venture capital. And I did it. I mean, at the very end, I got the $3 million. What you find out when you go into that world is anybody that's in the venture capital world wants 51% of your company, right? Which he did, the venture capitalists. And at the end of the day, the gentleman who owned the company, he was from Great Britain, so he wasn't really familiar with venture capitalist models, said, no, we're not going to take the money. I'm not going to get 51% of my money up, or of my equity up. And I quit. I mean, I'm like, are you kidding me? I just gave a year of my life to do this thing that you told me I was hired to do. And I finally got it, and then you're not playing by your end of the rules. But I had documented every single thing along the way. I had all my performance evaluations were exemplary. I had all the, the offer from the venture capital firm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually got unemployment through the state of Colorado. But if you're going to do something in number 2, you better have everything documented within an inch of your life. Just being like, oh, I didn't really like the guy I worked for, or whatever. That's not going to get you unemployment if you quit. Okay. Does anybody else have an example of something like that?
I have a weird example. I don't know where it would fit in. So, I worked in a bar casino, and I was a manager, and I had an employee's husband come in and yell at me in front of customers, like in my face, yelling at me. And I never got to talk to my boss or anything. They let me go over the phone, saying that they were taking it as a resignation because I was like, my hands were up because I was having problems with that employee. It was over tip money.
Did you have any proof of what had?
I documented everything that happened that morning, that day. I called that.
Yes,
mom,
and that matters for a lot.
When I wrote into the unemployment, I wrote and wrote and wrote, like every little aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually more important than you would imagine. That you can recount the details of what happened. I mean, being just like, I don't really like how my boss talks to me. Not helpful.
So, and it started because I got a text after I was off shift, and my boss had said, you need to put your phone away, you're getting, when you're done, Amber. And I got a text late at night, and I didn't answer it, and that's what started it. So I even documented that.
That's great. Then you've got the digital record. So did you get it?
Mm-hmm. I did get it.
Oh, you did get unemployment. Okay. So that is a great example. And then, well, actually, that's probably more of an example in number 3. You're discharged for a reason not considered to be misconduct. So it's not that I don't have work for you. It's not that you're quitting. It's just, like, I like you, you do a good job, but now my niece just graduated, and it's my company, and I'm going to hire her and let you go. So you're discharged for reasons that aren't misconduct. You're never going to get unemployment if you were, breaking rules or not performing your job tasks, things like that. Okay. What can you do to help reduce your unemployment insurance costs and avoid benefit overpayments? Basically, this is the biggie, over and over and over and over. Document everything, and be consistent, with documenting everything. So if y'all work for me, and I don't like one of you, and every time you're 2 minutes late, I write you up, but I don't write up the other 4 people, that'll come back to bite you because you're not applying your employee handbook rules consistently, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing that. And then the other thing, this is a biggie too. This little company I was just telling you about that I was the CFO for, I also did all the human resource management for them, and I had never done anything like that, and I learned a tremendous amount about it. But one of the things is you write these employee handbooks, but you've got to get your employees to acknowledge they received it and read it. Then if you're warning people or want them to make behavior changes in the workplace, you have to get them to acknowledge that you talked to them about it. It's back to that paper trail, or digital trail now, I guess, right? Okay, and then obviously timely responses to unemployment insurance. Whenever they're letting you know, potential charge notice or redetermination, that's the appeals process, you've got to make sure that you get back to them in a very timely manner. Okay, how do we file our unemployment insurance form or report that we just did for class today? You can do it actually on the, the manual one that we just did and send it in. But you can also use, it's called WARP on the web, which is where you enter all of the data about the folks that are on your unemployment report. And just basically, this is just what we did: record employee wages, excess wages, compute the taxes due, and then you don't have to do your paper reports anymore. Then for the last assignment, last assignment if you're online, not last assignment if you're you guys. You need to look at one of these letters. I think there's 4 of them. Is that what we decided?
Yeah, I think so.
And answer it. So this is one letter. This is another letter. And what you're doing is you are responding as if you are an account executive with the unemployment insurance office, right? So they're writing, what is this? You're writing a letter, a response letter, as if you're the Department of Unemployment. The last one goes, in other words, you have to, if you're going to do this last one, you have to also read the potential charge notice on the next page, which is right here. This is your address for your return, for your letter, okay, because that's who you work for. And this is who you're writing the letter to. Okay, so it needs to be in proper letter format. Again, you guys, most of you did a really good job on assignment number 1 on the writing. I was really pleased with the level of writing. It was great. Really good. So same thing here, but it's not a memo, it's a letter because it's going outside, right? Okay, and then lastly, and we've talked about this before, can somebody give me the quick rundown on new hire reporting again? What is it? Why do we do it? Who do we send it to? Anybody? Do you remember? Does anybody remember?
Department of Labor and, Department of Revenue?
It's actually, it goes to the, I don't know, who does it go to? I'm more interested in what it does. What does it do? And then we'll go see. I think it goes to the Department of Labor and Industry. What does it do? What's it for?
Child record with the child support.
Yes, it puts you on record with the Office of Child Support Enforcement, right? It gets your Social Security number into the Office of Child Support Enforcement System. And so to do that, you can either just take a picture of the new employee's W-4, or you can fill out the form. And it goes to, let's see, it actually, I'm sorry, it's in Helena. It's actually its own office. the new hire reporting program. So you can either do the form, I would personally just shoot a picture of the W-4. Okay, so,
So you submit that to the state, and the state gives it to the child support
Yes.
people? Right, okay, so there's, it goes